Ben, you spoke at the start of the series about how much it meant to you, how much the idea meant to you of becoming an England captain who won the Ashes in Australia. How does it feel now to know that's gone?
Obviously sucks. Very disappointing, and knowing now that we can achieve what we set out to do here is obviously incredibly disappointing. Now, I guess it moves over into what else do we have in front of us? We still got 2 games to go in the series. There's still a hell of a lot to play for us as individuals, us as a team. Obviously, walking out there and playing for England is a good enough thing in itself. So we still got so much more to play for, and we ain't gonna turn around and kick the stumps over because we've lost the series here, because there's still so much more to play for in the series, although we can't go back with the goal that we came out here to do.
When you look at the way you sort of assessed the series at the start, before a ball had been bowled, looking now at 3-0, are Australia a better team than you thought, or more superior to you than you thought?
No, I never ever underestimated the Australian team. That's one thing you never do, never underestimate your opposition. I think it's quite simple for me that Australia have been able to execute batting, bowling and fielding a lot more than us on a much more consistent basis. And those are 3 things that cricket built around. It's scoring runs, taking wickets and catching catches. They've outdone us in all 3 of those things. So they've just been able to execute everything a lot better than us over a much more consistent period of time. We've had moments where we've been very good, but Australia have been a lot better than us on over a much longer period of time in the series so far.
Can you understand why, or can you diagnose why it might have taken this long into the series, 10, 11 days, to maybe produce that kind of dogged fighting performance that you've been crying out for?
Oh God, I don't know. You could see when you come to the 3rd game in the series, when you're 2-0 down, knowing you need to win that game. Maybe that brings 5-10% more out of people that they didn't know they had. It's obviously easy to be able to say, well, why wasn't that shown in the first 2 games? But I think some individuals have probably actually learned a lot more about themselves throughout this week than they did maybe a week or 2 ago. There is a lot of positives to be able to take out of this game, and for us to be able to build on and take forward not only into the 2 games made in the series, but also think how our cricket looks in the future. We had guys going out there in some pretty high pressure moments, and I thought they stood up very, very well. I think some individuals have, as I said, they've learnt a bit more about themselves this week, but it's obviously hard when to look at it with too much positivity at the moment, because obviously there's a lot of emotion to attach with what's just gone on and where we are. But I'll take the positives out of some of the things that I've seen this week. The responses that we showed as a team when we were up against it, and all that kind of stuff. So
We'll go Ali and then Sam.
Ben, your team sort of built up a reputation before this series, particularly in good kind of batting conditions, that you sort of had a kind of relative freedom and you've enjoyed those conditions to score big runs. Is it possible that the first 2 tests in what were unfamiliar conditions almost kind of affected the messaging and the mindset going into what was a pitch that looked like kind of ground where you guys could do the thing that you've been doing for quite a while?
I think when we lost the toss and had to bowl, I think we bowled Australia out for a total that was under par on the day 1 wicket in Adelaide. We knew that we were actually ahead of the game then before we'd even went out and batted. We knew that we had to go out there and we had a great opportunity to be able to big score on the scoreboard for us in the first innings, and then put Australia on the back foot. We weren't able to do that, but we hung in there. We showed that fight that I was sort of talking about, and being able to get the total to, 80 something when Australia took the 2nd innings, and yeah, we sort of got ourselves back into the game with that, and then even yesterday morning coming out and taking 6 for 30 in the way that we did. And I know 420 to 435 is a huge total anywhere in the world, but the wicket was playing nicely, and we thought a couple of partnerships here on this wicket, we were in for a chance, and we were close, but not close enough. And being close ain't going to do much for you when you need to win a game. But
and can I just ask, when you see the way that Australia's bowlers have operated throughout the series, is it kind of been a bit of a sort of wake-up call to your own seam attack in terms of what is required out here in terms of particularly discipline and line and that?
Yeah, we know the plans that work out here. As I said at the start, we've just not been able to execute those plans for long enough. Did it in moments and did it in passages, and you just can't be so poor with your execution as consistently as we have been over these first 3 games, in particular with the ball. Because when you're off here, it gets punished, and we've seen that. But yeah, as I said, they've just completely out-executed us with all 3 facets of what the game of cricket is.
Sam and then Louis.
Then you mentioned the fight that the guys showed, particularly today, out there with the bat. Coming into this test, was there a decision to take a different approach with batting?
Not really. It was just identifying the situations and think in your head, what is it that I need to go out there and do for my team? Understand the moment of where the game is at. And yeah, I was trying to project that forward about what that looks like. And you can have all this kind of stuff going through your head when you're waiting to bat, when you're out there in the middle, and what you feel like is the best thing required for your team at that moment. But you can still get a good ball, and then you're walking back to the dressing room. But I think there was so much more clarity and an understanding about when guys are walking out there to bat, or when guys are coming to bowl, about what is needed right now, what do I need to do, and what does my execution need to look like. But then it's about going out there and delivering that. And yeah, if you're not able to execute that for good enough or long enough, then you get punished. And we've definitely seen that here this week. That I think this is our best game of cricket so far on this tour, but still not good enough.
Louis.
And you've seen several iterations of this Australian team going back to 2013.
Several what, sorry?
You've seen this, versions of this Australian team, a lot of different versions of it. Where does this one rank?
In terms of?
Best ones you played against?
They've been better than us.
As in, comparing the Australian teams to each other going back to 2013.
Yeah, they've been better than us.
Okay, we'll go Chris and then Will.
Ben, you said the best game of cricket you guys have played, so weirdly you've lost the Ashes, but are you more positive now than you were straight after Brisbane?
I think there's a lot of stuff that, as a team, as I said at the start of this, that we can actually take forward with us for the remaining games and into the future for other series that we've got. So obviously it's pretty emotional time for me in the dressing room and the guys, players, management, backroom staff. But yeah, when we sort of, get ourselves together and, speak about the game and, what we need to do in the remaining games here, I think we will take a lot out of this game and sort of go, this is how we can, maybe apply ourselves to give us a better chance of being a much more consistent cricket team.
Will.
Ben, Baz just said to us that he thinks the preparation wasn't quite right. In hindsight's one thing. Do you also accept that?
I hate living in hindsight because you can never change what you've done. It's at the end of the day, what you do out there is what counts. And yeah, we've not been able to stand up to what Australia have thrown at us. All the training, all the hours that we've put into, our efforts building up to the series in Australia, even before in Australia, all the hours of, grafting in indoor schools and all that kind of stuff that we do. It's what you do out there that matters the most. And yeah, we've not been able to stand up to the the barrage of execution from Australia.
We'll go Stefan, then Lawrence, and then we'll take 2 more after that. Go ahead.
Then batted and hard work on the second day, and you didn't bowl on the third day. Were you physically okay?
Yeah, the first 2 days were pretty big. Obviously, spent full day in the field and bowled a few overs, and then it's like 42 degrees or something out there. I've obviously got ginger hair, so being in the heat doesn't go really well together, that does it? So, the next day, honestly, I was just I just didn't feel right. I knew I still had a big role to be able to play for the team, so I didn't want to do is expose myself to something where I knew I wasn't quite feeling. I felt like I was going to snap every time I ran after a ball. So, I just looked after myself for the remaining few days of this game. Had a good night kit, woke up the next morning and I was good to go again. But I actually listened to the advice that was given to me for a change from a few of the senior boys.
Just in terms of that, you give so much to this team, so all those rehabs to get onto the field, and you talked about the disappointment that you're feeling right now. Have you got the energy to keep getting on that roller coaster when you do suffer disappointments like this?
Absolutely.
We'll go Lawrence, and then we'll go Barrett, and then we'll do Ollie to finish.
I appreciate what you just said. You can't undo the past, but as captain, do you look back at the last few weeks? Is anything I would have done differently if I could change that now?
Called heads first 2 and won this one.
Barrett.
Ben, just from a batting perspective, just looking at Jimmy Smith back today, does it just come down to Australia being that place where it is difficult when you're playing it for the first time and subsequent tours you just get more used to it, or even test matches, like whatever your approach is?
With Jamie?
No, I'm saying the way he batted, is it a sign that it's just a place where you just need to play more and more to get better? I mean, you have done so many tours off Australia. Is it just the conditions here that whatever you train or wherever you train, it's just something you have to get used to here?
I think there's a bit of both. I think there is that, getting used to, conditions for the first time is obviously always going to be tricky. But again, as I think I said earlier, like Jamie today went out and played the situation that he was faced with, even last night. The way in which he knew when he went out to bat that the most important thing for the team was him being not out at the end of the day and starting again with Jaxie this morning, because you're not going to win that game in half an hour. He was going to win that game this morning for us, or this afternoon. It looked like that those 2 were about to pull off a heist for us because they played so well. And talking about the absorbing and then applying it back on, I thought they did that so well. And in that moment where Smudger in particular thought, right, this is that moment where I need to put something back on there, when the field had came up to him. The newer, harder balls obviously a little bit easier to be able to score off. And fortunately, in that moment, he just wasn't able to execute what he wanted to do. But everything building up to that and that partnership, I thought was absolutely outstanding from where the game was at since and what they needed to do. I remember when you're chasing total down, you still have to find yourself ways to be able to score runs and put things into your favour as much as you possibly can. And we all know that that particular shot that Smudge got out to is a very, very big strength of his. And sometimes, you do get out to your strengths, but everything that he did building up to his dismissal today, I thought was outstanding. Read the situation beautifully, played it accordingly, and then when he felt it was time to put something back onto the Australian bowling attack, it just didn't come off. So that's cricket, it's sometimes it doesn't work, and it's pretty devastating.
Ollie on the right-hand side, and then we'll finish with Ali, and then we're done.
And the identity that this team has established over the last 3-4 years, aggressive, entertaining, free, kind of empowering, is that identity over now, do you think? Or is it going to be moderated, or do you carry on with it the way it has been?
I think the the main thing that we've always wanted to achieve with this group of players is taking the extra added pressure off shoulders that is so easily put there by external stuff that goes on away from the game itself, and there's sometimes moments or sometimes things that happen where the best thing that can happen is you make a mistake and you learn from it, and I think some of the mistakes that we have seen in this series before this game, sit back and watching the guys try and operate in this game in particular, you can see that it's sort of starting to click, but also making sure that we aren't restricting people's mindset towards how they best feel that they're going to be successful for the team. Again, Zach's knock at the top of the order was not something that you would necessarily associate with Zach, but he played that situation that was in front of him again. That's where I think the big learning that I've seen from individuals in this game, it's this bit that's almost an evolution for some guys in this team. You never want to take away their ability to go out and score their runs in the way that they feel is best going to suit them, but then marrying the skills and the ability that they have up with the mentality that it takes to be successful as an international sportsman. You put those two together, and I know that we've got a very, very exciting test team who can, be even more successful than we have been over the last 4 years.
Last one, Ali.
So Ben, it probably actually follows on from that. Ben, you obviously committed to England a couple of months ago with a new deal that takes you up to 27. I'm just wondering if anything over the last month has sort of made you question your hunger or desire to play for this team and lead this team.
Nope.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.